Hey y'all, before we get into this episode, I just wanted to put in a disclaimer. At one point during the sex segment, I very strongly expressed my opinions about the unsafeness of metal handcuffs when used in bondage for sex. But I want to make sure to point out that while the structure of metal handcuffs can be very dangerous to the nerves in your wrists, no form of bondage is completely safe. Please before you start engaging in bondage for any reason, including for sex, please do your homework. Make sure that you are aware of the risk. Make sure that you consent to that level of risk. And preferably meet with somebody and learn from somebody who has experience doing bondage as safely as possible. Bondage can cause or exacerbate circulation problems or nerve problems in various places on the body. So please be aware of that risk and make sure that you are doing everything that you can to mitigate that risk of damage. Thanks, and enjoy the episode.
But there are these things that matter, and they really fucking matter. There's like 4 things that matter, and they really fucking matter. I mean, objectively, I mean, you should care, especially you, if you thought about it for 5 fucking minutes.
Welcome back to episode number 30. Yay!
Woo!
Of the Out of Us podcast. As always, we are your hosts, Keem and Esme.
Yay!
Ooh, that was delayed, Esme.
Yeah.
Some of us seem a little... See, some of us might be tired, huh?
I'm distracted. I'm having a party this afternoon, and I am trying to remember all the things that I have to do for it, so...
Well, all of us can't be partiers, Esme. Some of us have to stay home. Or in my case, go to comic book shops because there's nothing else to do.
Anyway.
I digress.
Yes.
It has been, once again, I'm tired of saying this, but it's been a crazy week in the news.
Yep.
Always crazy, especially with everything that's going on in Houston, which our thoughts and like everything goes out to Houston right now as they deal with the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey, and Houston and the destruction and it's all caused down there, and all the other just weird, messed up things that have happened this week in the news. So let's go into the news. Who do you think should go first? You want to start angry and end nice, or start nice and end angry?
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, since I mentioned Houston, yours ties directly into that.
That is true. So I'm going to be really short today because it's short, but it's a thing that is so amazing. So those of you who have been paying attention to what's going on in Houston have probably heard about Joel Osteen not opening his church to people who were put out of their homes by flooding. But I'm not here to talk about him. I'm here to talk about somebody who did open his doors to people who were put out of their homes by flooding, and that is Matress Mack. He is a furniture store owner, and I cannot for the life of me remember what his actual name is, but that's okay. We'll link to him. But he is a furniture store owner in Houston. He owns 2 furniture showrooms, and he has opened both of his showrooms as shelters for people who have been displaced by flooding, and is offering them a place to stay. He opened his mattress showroom as a place to crash for National Guardsmen who are there helping to get people helping move people to safety. And the thing that's even better about this, so he's been an institution. He's an institution in Houston. Like, he's well known. He has major showrooms. But even better is that this is not the first time that he has done this. He has been doing this kind of thing for years. Like, over a decade, has been offering his space as shelter anytime there's a natural disaster that puts people out of their homes. He's done this. To the point where both of his showrooms were purposefully built, elevated, so that they would be floodproof. He knows that his showrooms will be dry if there are people who are put out of their homes by flooding. So he can do this. And it makes me so happy that there are people in this world who care so much about other people that they are thinking ahead to make sure that they will be able to help people in times of need. And that just made me very, very happy.
It's very awesome. With, like I said, with everything that's going on, that this man is doing what he could, doing everything he can to help the people of his city who are in need of it. Like, hats off.
Yes.
To Matress Mack. Like, and for everyone out, like, go give this man and other people like him, because there are others out there who opened up their homes that were safe and opened up their lives. There were people who went out there in boats from other states to go rescue people.
The Muslim community in Houston has been incredibly welcoming, to the point where they opened up, I think every mosque that was not touched by the flood has been opened as a shelter. And the people who attend services there or whatever have begun praying outside in order to not disturb the people who are using the space as a shelter at a lot of the mosques.
And I was actually about to bring that up. Like, there's been a tremendous outpouring of just love and kindness from so many communities in Houston, and so many people outside Houston, around the country. Even Mexico sent soldiers and doctors and all kind of stuff in to save people.
Yep.
So if you haven't already, go and show your support for Houston. And when I say show your support, money, canned goods, or just sending people to the resources. Even if you can't give something, you can send other people to the resources where they can help.
Yeah.
Something more than thoughts and prayers.
Yes. Tangible help. Please.
Yes. Said, please do that, because these people need your help. And as we brace for another possible major, even larger storm in Irma, and the fact that FEMA and NOAA don't have heads right now, there are going to be more and more people who are going to be in need of other people to help them in the face of these disasters. So please go show your support for everyone, and help if you can. Because a lot of people are not, there are quite a few people that should be helping, few major people, few people that we've heard a lot about in the past couple of days that didn't help when they should have, and only helped when they were pushed to. And even then, after welcoming refugees into their church, decided it was okay to pass the collection plate around to the people who have just lost everything they've owned.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Joel.
Anyway.
And being angry at people like this Angry Evangelicals moves me into my news story. That has come out this week. Earlier in the week, a group of evangelical leaders, including James Dobson, who is of course a big one.
If
And I have a very personal disdain for James Dobson. When I was in high school, they forced us to read James Dobson books, and it was the most mind-numbing and indoctrinative bullshit I've ever read. So yeah, but James Dobson, the leader of the Bellevue, the head of the Bellevue Church in Memphis.
Oh, was he in on that too?
Also was there. Yeah, he was definitely in on there. And a bunch of other head of the Southern Baptist Convention, whole bunch of major evangelical leaders came together to create what they call the Nashville Statement. And the Nashville Statement was basically I guess the best thing we'd call it would be a manifesto or a treatise, or one of those, centered around the church's position with the LGBTQIA and all the others movement and people. Basically, it goes through and denounces everything. It goes through and denounces homosexuals. And it does. There's 14 articles to this Nashville Statement, and it basically just goes down the line, and each separately denounces every group, and says that the church denounces every group, and anyone who supports those groups, or in any way, any church that supports those groups in any way, is going against the will of God. It even goes as far as saying that although God tells us to have a love for everyone, we do not have a duty to treat people who are LGBTQIA plus. We do not have a duty to treat them with respect. It goes on and on. It's basically a bullet pointed list of who the church is allowed to hate, according to quote unquote God's will, which even goes as far as to include any people having premarital sex. We get our own section 2. Anyone having sex outside the bonds of marriage. They even go into people who asexual people, and yeah, they denounce asexual people, or as they have called them, the eunuchs. Yeah. And basically what they said about asexuals is that God has decided that they are quote unquote eunuchs, but that does not push them into the identification of being asexual. They still have to identify as heterosexual, and it is wrong for them to identify as anything else than heterosexual, even though they are quote unquote eunuchs. Yes, basically, any kind of identification that isn't male, female, binary, heterosexual, is against the will of God and shall not be supported by the church. And if you are in those groups, so basically QIA Christians, they're out. Either you drop your identity or you're out. According to them, God tells us to love you only if you drop your sinful ways. So they're out, and any churches who accept them, so like your Episcopalians and all those, any church that accepts people and accepts them, including people who are having premarital sex. I want to stress this too. This is not just it's not just non-heterosexual, non-binary people. This is also heterosexual binary people who are having sex outside of marriage. They're also put into that category. Anyone who supports them or has them in their church, any church that does that, is also not Christian and against the will of God. So this is basically the evangelicals' closing rank, and telling their followers, hey, we see what's happening around the country. We see these people becoming more accepted. We see these people, demanding human rights and human treatment, and we are telling you that if you want to remain a Christian, you want to consider yourself a Christian from now on, you have to denounce them. Because if you don't denounce them, that is against the will of God. And it is absolutely ridiculous. And even the United States president has gone on record as agreeing with the Nashville Statement. Surprise, surprise. Fucking goddamn rotten ass Cheeto. What I have to say to these people are very simple. It's very simple. Fuck you. Like, seriously. Fuck you, man. Like, there is no reason for this. There is not. If you have a religious problem, whether it's valid or not, and it's not, I'm telling you the truth. Your religious problems, your religious validation is not valid. It's not. But even if you think it is, that's your issue. Okay? It's your issue. That's your problem. You can keep it to your damn self. But this, we need to make this grand sweeping statement. We need to galvanize, quote unquote, Christians. And I'm sorry, as a former Christian myself, this is not the Christianity I was taught. Okay? While we were taught that sin exists and people are sinful, I was taught that you should love people. And even if you do not agree with what they do, even if you do not agree with the quote unquote sins they are committing, you're obligated as a Christian, as a follower of God, to love them, to treat them like humans. You are not supposed to be shitty to them. You're not supposed to do everything in your power to denounce and destroy them, to make them feel like lesser. That makes you not a Christian. In the Bible, I'm sorry, and I'm not going to stay on this long because I know we have an interview to get to. But in the Bible, Jesus was opposed by a very specific group. And that specific group were known to make bold religious statements on how religious people should act. They were known for having large churches where they collected the people's money. And they were known for making big shows of their faith, quote unquote, and treating people like garbage. These people were the Pharisees, and they were the main people Jesus opposed. And to see so-called followers of Christ, being a former Christian myself, but to see people who claim to be followers of Christ, who use the Bible, who use the quote-unquote teachings of God as their whole foundation to treat people like shit, and being exactly the people that Jesus fought against physically. Jesus physically fought against them at certain points.
Yeah.
But to be the spitting image of those people and think it's okay that they have some kind of mandate drives me off the wall. Like, just puts me in a form of anger. Like, people are used to me yelling and being angry, but this is a more of a calm anger of I kind of just want to see these people gone.
Yeah.
Like, there's no help. There's no help for you. You're way past help. You're way past, man, you're going to change and become better people. And in your own terms, become more Christ-like and loving. You're beyond that.
Yeah.
You're awful. And you should be gone. Like, and this is not Christians should be gone. No, there should be Christians. There should be actual loving Christians in the world, because I have no problem with Christianity. I don't. You believe what you want to believe. But don't treat people like garbage.
Yeah.
Simple. Your Bible tells you to do that. It tells you, don't treat people like garbage. Treat people like garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. Just do what it says. Don't treat people like garbage. So, like I said, believe what you want to believe. But people like James Dobson and Joel Osteen and these awful fucking evangelical Pharisee bastards, go jump off a goddamn bridge and go straight to hell. Because if hell exists, you're going, you fucks. You piece of shit fucks. Just stop treating people like shit. There's no need for the Nashville Statement. There's not.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, fuck you. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Okay.
And I'm done.
Yes. Let's get to that interview.
With that being said, we are going to have a musical music interlude from our amazing guest today. We've been trying to get this person on the show for months. We are happy to bring you an interview and music from Ash Leon.
Yay!
Or Leon.
Leon. Sir, Leon. But
gotta keep continuity. But we're going to have an awesome interview with Ash. I'm sure you guys are gonna love it. After this music, and we're going to have I think we're going to have a pretty interesting sex segment.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that later. But we are, here is music from Ash Leon.
With these bigots and tend to go wild. Silence is violence, my energy loud. Designing imposters blending with the crowd. No, I will kneel for the anthem right now. Another black body like dead on the ground. No justice, no peace, I'm protesting police. I put my fist up, middle finger down. Don't give a fuck cause I'm black and proud. I'm black and proud, I'm black and proud. I say it loud, I'm black and proud, I'm black and proud. Our time is now, I'm black and proud, I'm black and proud. We hold it down, I'm black and proud. Say it with me now. Every time I hear it, say it.
I'm living it, I'm feeling it. Jungle, jungle, I'm feeling it. I'm sipping it. Jungle, jungle, she's feeling it. We feeling it. Jungle, jungle, no, 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 no. Jungle, 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 jungle. I'm living it, I'm feeling it. Jungle, jungle, I'm sweating it. I'm sipping it. Jungle, jungle, she's feeling it. We feeling it. Jungle, jungle, no, 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 no. Jungle, jungle, jungle.
I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm a black proletariat, born as slave kings. I'm coming to your party with a guillotine. Y'all been why you robbing us to everything? Why you robbing us to everything? Why you robbing us to everything? History books distorting the truth, infecting the minds of the black youth. If making free the slaves, it was to leave them hanging in the crook of the noose. I'm here to set the record straight.
We got receipts for your ass. Listen, baby, la 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 la. We got receipts for your ass.
That's why MCing, get in the booth to give you the truth. Tell it how it's supposed to be. Less opinion, more perspective. Word to Lil B. My philosophy is based on equality. No appropriation, give us reparations. No paid leave for these sick pigs. Shooting kids like they hit men. Bullet holes that piss my soul and my heart. Say her name, a damn shame. Say her name. Black women getting slain for almost anything. It's a crying shame how black queers have to live in fear from their black peers. And these cops, when will it stop? How many more bodies gotta drop? Build this country from the ground up. I think they're scared of us and melanin I trust. The fun when we snatch the flag, fin Confederate ass, and you watch me laugh as I drag and burn and drag a symbol of your past and shatter it and smash my vigilante to glass with our black fist up, cause we don't give a fuck.
I'm living it, I'm feeling it. Jungle, jungle, I'm feeling it. I'm sipping it. Jungle, jungle, she's feeling it. We feeling it. Jungle, jungle, no, 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 no. Jungle, 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 jungle. I'm living it, I'm feeling it. Jungle, jungle, I'm feeling it. I'm sipping it. Jungle, jungle, she's feeling it. We feeling it. Jungle, jungle, no, 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 no. Jungle, 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 jungle. La, la, la. We got receipts for your way. Your way, your way, your way. La, 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 la. We got receipts for your way.
Welcome to our interview section this week, because we're doing an interview instead of a topic. Because it's a lot of the times, well, not a lot of the time, but sometimes it's better to just talk to someone instead of being angry the entire time about something. And with that in mind,
that doesn't fit your MO at all.
You know what? I've been angry all week. Sometimes I just want to talk to somebody and I might be angry sometime in this interview. Fact of life there. But anyway, we have a very, very special guest here for episode 30. Someone we've been talking to since earlier in the summer, and we've finally been able to get them on the show. I'd like to introduce you all to Ash. Is it Leon or Leon?
It's Leon.
I knew it.
You gotta
They wanted to
figure
be an
that shit
asshole.
out in advance, Keem. Come on.
You know me. I'm shitty with names. Welcome, Ash.
Howdy.
For those of you who don't know, Ash is a incredible, just up and coming, just rapper would do. Just musician we'll go with. He's been featured in Afropunk, doing shows all over the place. He's from Memphis, right?
Yeah.
And now is up here in Brooklyn, where I also am. So, yeah, and somebody else from the South is here too.
Woo. I mean, it's Brooklyn. There's a lot of people. There's several people from the South, I would bet. But that's just me.
Nah, just two.
Just
It's
the
just
two.
two.
Okay.
But welcome, Ash. Care to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself? I'm pretty sure you would do a better job of describing you than I would, because I'm an idiot.
You're not an idiot. You're just awkward as hell.
That's true.
Well, let's see. So I'm definitely a Memphis native. I was originally a transplant. I didn't actually get to Memphis until I was about 13. But all of the pivotal moments in my life happened in Memphis, so I consider it my hometown.
Yeah.
Including music. I never thought in a million years that I would become a rapper, ever. I just knew I was going to be in like a progressive rock band or something. But as fate would have it, I did not become the new lead singer of Tool, and I became this abstract rapper. Same with activism. I didn't ever think that would be a part of my life.
Yeah.
Like at all. I remember during my early teens, like I don't know, I was just on the path to becoming a self-hating weeaboo. Like
That's a shame.
that was almost my fate. And then I discovered hip hop. I discovered rap music, all while reading this book written by Richard Wright called Black Boy. And suddenly I had identity, and everything just kind of fell into place. I didn't discover feminism though. I didn't learn about that until Beyonce. That's a true story.
That's very interesting.
Beyonce.
We have talked about Beyonce and feminism on this show before.
And some of us have some issue with Beyonce and her marketed feminism.
That's just me, though. No, it's not just me. That's okay, though.
But go on. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean that's pretty much me in a nutshell. Music, anime, or I guess geek culture and activism.
Right. You said you mentioned abstract rap. Care to describe that, because that's probably not something that comes up very often. That term.
It's interesting too. I just read this article. It was about art rap, is what they called it, and I guess with my catalog, it just wouldn't be considered contemporary or traditional. It's just very quirky and eccentric, because there are lots of socio-political messages sprinkled in there. But then, the format for how I make songs is just very different. Just weird. Alien is the best way that I can describe it.
I will say from what I've heard, which I've enjoyed. Like Tangerine Dream is my shit.
Thank you.
Not even gonna lie, that's an awesome song. It reminds me a lot, and people say this a lot because this person is like a pinnacle of hip hop, but it reminds me a lot of like Andre 3000 and of course Kid Cudi.
That's flattering.
Yeah.
And Keem doesn't say shit like that lightly.
I really don't, because there's a bit of a slight hero worship of Andre 3000. So
Slight?
look, okay, it's a lot, but Outkast was a very like big part of me getting into hip hop growing up. So when I give that comparison, that's a big one.
No, that means a lot to me. When I made that song, I did it because I don't know. One day I just had an epiphany, and I'm like, you know what? Because let me just say this: like, as a rapper, one of my worst fears is creating music that comes off as too preachy. I feel like a lot of rappers who are labeled as conscious rappers fall into that trap.
Yeah.
I think it's good to have a message, but like sometimes conscious rap just errs on the side of pretentiousness, because it's like, yeah, there are a lot of people who might be misinformed, and there are a lot of people who might not know these things, but you can't just assume that everyone doesn't. And also, sometimes people just don't want to hear that. We live in an era where we have a nexus to everything in the world. Sometimes people are just overwhelmed. So I started thinking like, well, why don't I just make something that I would want to hear, that some of my favorite rappers haven't quite made yet? And so that's how that came out. Also, fun fact, side note about Outkast and the Dungeon Fam. Apparently Future, the rapper, is a part of that collective, or at least he was raised by them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just
Yes, I didn't know that, but that makes all the sense in the world, actually.
Yeah, one of his biggest influences was Talib Kweli, but like the thing was, if you were a part of the Dungeon Fam, like you had to stand out. You couldn't be like anyone else.
Right.
And so that's how his whole, I guess, auto-tune style came to be. It just sucks that his catalog does not reflect what that collective is all about.
Right.
You got.
I remember before Future really like hit it big, some of his older mixtapes, you could definitely more get that feel, like that sense. Now that I think about it, of course that changed pretty big once consumption by the major media. But I can definitely get that sense, like listening back to much older stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a big fan of Future, like big fan. But generally, I don't want to say I'm a hip hop like hipster, but
You are though.
Generally,
You are though.
Once something or someone gets overplayed on the radio, I can't handle it. I used to say Future was the rapper for all the thugs in love.
That makes sense.
Because man, I got a whole bunch of Future stories that I don't want to go into. So one of the things that brought you to our attention and was your identification. Care to go into that a little bit?
You mean as far as just non-binary?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because Keem found you because of the feature in Afropunk.
Yeah. Well, You know, where do I start? Growing up, especially in the South, you know, like toxic masculinity, hypermasculinity, like that was a frequent and permanent thing. You know, like you do anything that isn't considered the status quo as a young Black person, as a male presenting young Black person, and you're hit with these labels. They question your sexuality. You know, they question everything about you. You know, don't bend your wrist too much. You know, don't wear pants that are too tight. Don't speak with a proper diction because, you know, that's gay. You know, that's what they would say. And they would even young women were affected by it. You know, they would also perpetuate that sort of thing because that's what they were taught.
Yep.
And I just, that was one of my personal self-identity issues I had growing up, because it's like, well, I'm already struggling to feel like I'm Black enough, but now apparently I'm not straight enough. And, you know, I was a child, you know, and as a kid, and most people in America have this misconception where we intertwine gender and sexuality, you know, like that's what we do here. And as I got older, I just started to realize, like, I don't really care. Like, all of the concept of what it means to be a man, like, it just never resonated with me. And, you know, based on what I had heard about what it is to be a woman, I knew for sure that didn't resonate with me because this is all anyway. And so as I got older and I started to read more, I just came across non-binary and I started asking some questions, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is me. Like, I don't really feel one thing or the other. I just feel like me. When I close my eyes, I just see me. You know, I don't really see a particular gender. And so I felt it was especially important for me to be vocal about that as a rapper, because rap music and the culture of hip hop are very, very hypermasculine. And so that's pretty much been my agenda and mission, to kind of tear down some of those layers.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say that's awesome, because I still see it every day in the culture, and particularly with, like, in Black culture still in Memphis. It's so rigid and so like really, really harmful to so many people. It really is. It sucks. And so I'm glad that there are people now who are talking about it and who are starting to like visibly be outside of the lines that are drawn. It's nice.
Yeah. I mean, because we have Young Thug and we have Uzi Vert and we have Jaden. But my only thing, those guys, because they do identify as men, is that their music doesn't quite reflect their aesthetic. And I feel like that is equally as important in this case. You know, because like it's one thing to have like if your aesthetic is like genderqueer, like that's fine because that says a lot. But like if your music is still damaging to people who also identify as genderqueer, then it creates a complex. It's a conflict. So that's another thing I've been focusing on. Like, you know, don't write things that are homophobic or transphobic or you know, anything like that. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then what were you going to say? Because I interrupted you.
Oh, no, it's okay. I just recently met a rapper named Rara Gabor, and they are non-binary. They identify as she and her, and they're from New Jersey, and they're really good.
Nice.
And they're amazing to me because their aesthetic it's very femme presenting because that's what they want.
Yeah.
But like their actual like rap voice is really gruff and deep. And so like when you listen to their music before you ever see them, you probably would imagine this big, like, gruff person, and then like when you meet them, and it's just like this beautiful, like, flower person with these different color hair, and it's just amazing to me. It's like epic.
That's
I feel like
amazing.
they're doing a really good job of like defying some of those stigmas in hip hop.
That's fantastic. Also, I need more queer rappers in my life. It's just a thing.
You gotta.
Love it.
I will say that reminds me. I've had in the past couple days, I've had way too many conversations about toxic masculinity with people I care about randomly.
Oh, Lord. I don't think that's random, actually. I think that this is a time right now, especially in like where you are in your life, that you are you don't mean to, but you're pushing these conversations a little bit.
I have to though, because
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
it's very strange now. I don't mean to make this about me, but the point in my life where, you know, like Ash, I've dealt with, of course, I identify male, straight, all that mess. But
You're one of those people.
yeah, cisheads, you know. But I've always struggled a lot, growing up with all the boy, you better straighten up your wrist thing, and oh, you need to go do this and act like a real man, that, and blah 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 blah, and which has caused a lot of different psychosis. Because now I just don't deal with that at all, and back home it's still very much same as it's always been. Seems starting to see a little like shift in thinking, just because that's the way society is changing. Society is becoming more open, despite these crazy as fuck neo-Nazis running around, and despite the Nashville Statement, which but despite all those horrible things happening, society is changing, and these conversations are starting to come up more and more, and they're becoming more and more divisive, because I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to support this toxic bullshit anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to deal with it at all anymore. This is horrible. This is getting people hurt. This is getting people killed. You can't do this. So I've been having arguments, like straight up arguments with friends, family, loved ones recently. And it's not like vicious, like we don't like each other afterward arguments, but it's really heated arguments over this stuff. And bringing this into hip hop and stuff, hip hop is also at least for me, at a shifting point where the society is changing, and thus the narrative of hip hop is changing and needs to change. And I'm seeing a lot more different identifications, different people presenting in different ways, and all this stuff, and it's encouraging. Yet there's still a lot. It's still clashing very much with the quote unquote traditional nature of hip hop. I remember, I think a few weeks back, Tyler the Creator, there was a thing where people were trying to figure out if he came out on a song. And I, of course, was just like, it matters, it matters because if he did, there's some more representation. But on the other hand, it kind of doesn't matter because why should it? Like, also, Tyler Creator's music in the past is not good in that aspect. Just like many other rappers, and so that's a thing. Sorry, that was my little spiel.
That was a pretty good rant. You haven't ranted like that in a long time. No, that's not true. It was since like last week.
It's just like last night for some people. But go ahead, Ash.
No, I was, to piggyback, I think everything you said was valid. I'm happy that Tyler has grown up. He was that super edgy kid who happened to rap. And so a lot of his content was very, very problematic. And I don't really like using problematic. I feel like that's a buzzword that's overused on social media. But the stuff that he was saying, and there really wasn't any rhyme or reason. He just did it to do it. So it's great to see his personal growth. Also, I am very, 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 very happy that in the midst of the rumors about his sexuality, he did not address them.
Right.
Because I feel the moment you come out and you publicly deny those things, then you just perpetuate the stigma that there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, it shouldn't matter what someone does in their bedroom anyway.
Right.
So I'm glad that he just didn't say anything at all.
I will say he handled it pretty well, very well actually. Just going with the motions, and also I think it was during those times during that whole thing he announced the new show, the new show that's coming out on Adult Swim that he has.
Mm-hmm.
So, it worked out. Definitely worked out. And speaking of the show on Adult Swim, I want to touch on your experience as a black nerd myself, which a little bit of my own advertising. I admin and created a black nerds group on Facebook that has close to 1,000 people, which I'm so proud of.
You are so proud of that.
I am. I wanted to actually talk about being the culture of nerd culture in hip hop, because tied in with the whole toxic masculinity thing, being a nerd, being black and a nerd is not something that's growing up really wasn't that acceptable. Despite most black, especially young black men, most of the young black men I know, young black boys at the time, were into really nerdy stuff. We loved our anime, like Dragon Ball Z every day, like clockwork. Dragon Ball Z every day, Tenchi Muyo, superheroes, all out the whatever, those were the things we loved, but only a select few actually embraced, got to, or felt like they could embrace nerdiness while being black. The rest just kind of, I like this stuff, but I can't talk about that around other people. And like with that being all that being said, one of the ways you described yourself was, a black nerd rapper.
Hello?
I'm here. Sorry.
Can you repeat that very last thing?
I said one of the ways I've seen you describe yourself as a black nerd rapper. I wonder if you could talk about anything to say about that, being prominently displaying nerdiness. Because I mean, I've been on your we've been Facebook friends for a minute now. I've seen your half your stuff is fucking anime. Like, not even gonna lie, it's anime as fuck.
It's only because like in the comic world, there really hasn't been anything popping. So I haven't really been talking about comics too much, even with like some of the shows. Like, I haven't gotten a chance to sit down and watch The Defenders yet. But I will say this: Thor is next month, and it's going to be awesome. And then after next month, we only have 3 more months of Black Panther. So,
oh yeah, I am so ready. I'm going down the street to Alamo Draft House for both those premieres. Gonna be awesome.
Also, I'm sorry, the fire detector is over here. It's just apparently on crack, and so it's so loud that I can hear it through the walls.
Gotcha.
Like, it's determined to save my life. It's gonna let me know.
You ain't gonna die today.
But as far as just implementing nerd culture into what I do as a rapper, I mean, that's always been a part of hip hop. But again, there was this hyper masculine air about it. Wu-Tang, they're talking about kung fu movies, and when they did mention comics, it was usually it had aggressive undertones. And so I guess, and now that the more that I think about it, I don't understand being teased for that, because it's like these fucking, these freaking gangster rappers.
Profanity is fine. You're good.
Okay. But yeah, these gangster rappers who like sell drugs and like will beat you up are like telling you that they watch all of these like awesome kung fu movies. Like, how could you make fun of me for this? Like, I bet you won't say it to them, but so now it's just about me being who I am. Also, I don't know how I feel about the subgenre nerdcore. Like,
yeah.
I just feel it just tries a little too hard. It's like I get it. You know a lot about video games. You want to rap about it, but like every single line, it's just like, geez. I don't know. I like versatility.
There's a difference between you doing you and your nerdiness is being a part of that, and pandering because pandering to an unrepresented group.
Yeah, it's like the difference. It's like the difference between a Christian rapper and a rapper who's Christian.
Right. Like,
a rapper who's Christian, they may make some references to Christianity, to their religion, and that's cool. That's their right to do that. But like a Christian rapper, like, that's all they're going to talk about. And like, have you heard of Lecrae?
Oh yeah.
So like, I've always had this issue with Lecrae because he complains. He's like, I don't know why people consider me a Christian rapper, da 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 da. But like, that's literally all he raps about. So it's like, what do you expect? Like, rap about something else then. But so I just, my whole thing is just being who I am, in the music and outside of it, and not really hiding any of that,
You're right.
Hell, I have one project called Data, and I named it that. It was an acronym, but I named it that because I was watching this episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and it was about the character Data. And I was so moved by this episode, I'm like, you know what? I want to write a mixtape based around the dialogue here. But the cover isn't Data. It's this anime character from this series called Seven Deadly Sins.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like the character from that anime and Data like paralleled so much that I wanted him to be on the cover because I had been working with a lot of Japanese producers for that project who happened to watch anime. So I'm like, you know what? Let's bring the best of both worlds together. We have like Star Trek, which is American culture. We got anime, which is Japanese culture. Let's smack them together, and boom, we have this mixtape.
That's awesome.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I can't wait till that's out. And speaking of which, about melding American and Japanese culture, man, we need that. Man, for us anime fans and stuff, we need that right now because all these Hollywood adaptations of anime that keep coming out, failing in the aspect of melding cultures on that.
Well, I agree. I mean, 9 times out of 10, I agree. The only one time I don't is with this whole Death Note situation. And that's only because it was an adaptation and not a remake.
I am with you on that one. Actually, I have gotten into arguments with people about that, and I am with you on that one.
Also, with Ghost in the Shell, there's also another tricky situation because it's like I don't know. It's hard to say because I'm not an Asian American, but like obviously, you know, we have issues of representation when it comes to Asian actors and actresses in Hollywood.
Right.
But in Japan, they're a homogenous nation, so they don't really have that issue. So whenever they find out that there's going to be an American remake or adaptation, they don't really care because they're like, well, we're freaking Japanese. Like, we already have our version of this with all Japanese people. Do what you want, Americans. And they already think that we're predominantly white anyway. So, like, they're usually indifferent about it. And then I feel that creates this conflict because over here, you know, it's different. And I don't know. I think they just, even though the creator of Ghost in the Shell said he didn't care, I think that over here on our end, we probably should have done better. At least not casted ScarJo as
I think it comes down to the difference between whitewashing and westernization.
Yeah.
Like, there's a difference. Like, Death Note was westernized. It was a cast that was representative of the place it was in. Like, you had pretty much a pretty mixed cast. Like, Lakeith Stanfield did an excellent job as L, as far as I'm concerned. And Light, I didn't enjoy Light very well, but the cast was representative of the culture, of the culture it was made for. It was made for the American audience. Ghost in the Shell was the opposite of that. Like, while it was made for the culture, it was just kind of painted over. It was. I take it back. It wasn't made for the culture. It was taking the source material and just painting over with white paint.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that. Like, that's a problem. Like, you can't just take what was there and just make it white. If you're going to adapt it for your audience. Like, as you were saying, like, in Japan, it's a homogenous culture. Most everybody's Japanese. Most everybody's the same. Anime, so in anime characters, of course, everyone's going to be Japanese in most cases. Just because everyone there is Japanese. So let's say, and I know Esme has, like, she's checking out on this one.
You know me so well.
Yep. But Ash, you know Full Metal Alchemist, of course.
Yeah.
If, let's say they did a Hollywood version of Full Metal Alchemist, that cast would have to be all white, just about, because Full Metal Alchemist is a analogy for Nazi Germany.
Mm-hmm.
They're all German. So it wouldn't make sense for the entire cast, if you did a Hollywood version of it, to be all Japanese.
I'm glad you bring up that point, because that's another reason why I feel there should be adaptations instead of remakes. And this ties into my criticism of weeaboos and their incessant need to watch things subtitled, because the reason why they dub anime is because there are a lot of cultural differences, not just in our languages, but just like culturally. And
Right.
some of that stuff can't be translated. And so they draw up these new scripts because it's not the 90s anymore. We don't have like voice actors just speaking over the anime like they did for Ghost Stories. But, you know, they make these new scripts just that are more westernized. So I feel like maybe if they took that approach with these movies, we could avoid whitewashing. Because like you said, with Full Metal, you know, that's based on Germany. So, you know, they're gonna have to reflect that. And I think that they failed to do that with a lot of other series that are in Japan. And honestly, if you think about it, like, why would there be any sort of adaptation of that? Like, as Black people, how would we feel if an entire different, like, ethnic group of people decided to make their version of a movie that was predominantly Black?
Right.
Like, we'd probably feel a way about that.
Right. And especially being where blackness was a defining part of that thing. Like, you wouldn't do a all white adaptation of Black Panther.
You would not. I would hope.
I mean, I would watch it for all the wrong reasons, because it would be fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and then I'd have to
But
talk
you
you down
should
afterwards.
never do that. Yeah, and the theater's on fire. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. I think another big issue, and you talk about the weeaboos and we're only gonna watch it subtitled, and that's a lot. I have a lot of friends like that. I just can't stand the American voice actors. It sounds so wrong.
Like, there are some who I get it. You know, they're not that great, but geez,
Right.
You know, like,
I feel like that gets into fetishism a bit, because you have a lot of people who are not liking it, but who don't like the material because the material's good. They like it because it's Japanese.
Yep.
And that's kind of disgusting. Like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't fetishize a culture. That's wrong. Fetishizing a culture is wrong.
And not even the culture, but pop culture at that.
Right.
Yeah.
They reduce Japanese culture to what they see in anime, and I think that's ridiculous. Like, if you're gonna appropriate somebody's culture, at least like get the actual culture and not just the surface of it all.
Right. That's happening a lot with K-pop now, with the like worldwide phenomenon, because like a few years ago, K-pop wasn't even a thing that was on really that many people's radar outside of Korea, but K-pop is starting to become this global phenomenon, and it's starting to be it's beginning to be the same type of thing. People are not liking the music for what it is. They're liking it because of the surface. Oh, look at the quirky Korean blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I lived over there. I lived in Pyeongtaek for a year. So from my honest opinion, I feel like what it really is, or what it really boils down to is, hey, look, these Koreans are doing stuff that Black American artists do, except they're Korean.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I complain about how I don't like Black American artists and R&B music, I'm all for this K-pop because look, it's Koreans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back to that model minority thing. It's okay if someone else does it, just not you. Welcome to America, folks. Yeah, sorry. The nerd spiel had started.
I mean, I was expecting that.
Side note, Ash, if there's one anime you would like to see a Hollywood like American version of, what would it be?
Eden of the East.
Oh, nice.
Especially because part of it takes place in America, so I just feel it would work out pretty well. And it has a believable storyline. It's my alternative to Death Note. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. The English dub version, mostly because, again, I don't have anything against subs. It's just when it comes to eliciting certain emotions, I feel English voice actors, they have it a little better. Because, like, in Japanese, it's kind of black and white. Like, they say what they mean and they say it how they say it. And, yeah, sometimes they emote anger and excitement. But, like, in English, we can say, hey, 5 different ways, and it can have 5 different meanings. And that makes a world of difference when you're trying to invoke certain emotions out of people. And Eden of the East, they do a really good job of doing that.
I'm going to have to check that out. I've heard of it before, and I've heard certain things, but I haven't seen it.
Do you know the band Oasis? Do you remember them?
Yes, I do. I remember Oasis.
They did the opening song for Eden of the East.
You know, I knew that.
You did know that?
I did know that. Because I don't keep up on this anime stuff, but I know shit about music. So I'm just like sitting here listening to this conversation. It's like y'all are speaking a different language. But then you bring up Oasis, and I'm like, I know that.
I love music, so we can get into that too. Like, I love rock, I love metal, I love everything.
I keep telling Esme she needs to watch Cowboy Bebop. You love music? Go watch Cowboy Bebop.
You do. There's this woman. Her name is Yoko Kanno. She is like a genius music composer and producer, and like she pretty much single-handedly created the soundtrack for this anime, Cowboy Bebop, which is iconic. It's like one of the longest, no, not longest running, but basically like this series has been in syndication for like almost 2 decades at this point.
Well, I
like,
mean, I know of Cowboy Bebop. Like, good luck existing in the world and not knowing about it. I just have never seen it.
Oh, and my next project is based on Cowboy Bebop.
All right, see... You're my hero.
It's because I just turned 27 and I have an afro, and Spike is 27 and he has an afro, and like he's this bounty hunter who is struggling sometimes to get the bounty, and he's poor, and then he has this really weird dark past, and that's pretty much my life. I used to be in the military. Sometimes shocked to hear that. I don't always get paid that much for shows, so I figure like our lives parallel enough for me to create this concept musically, where I'm Spike, trapped in space.
Yeah, man, that's brilliant. Honestly, that's awesome. You got a crew though?
Somewhat. Somewhat.
Good Lord, that's awesome. That's awesome. Let's see. So let's go back on the subject of music. Last weekend, Afro Punk Brooklyn. was hell. Can you and who said you've been featured in Afro Punk? Would you care to talk about that experience like last weekend? Because some of us were here and were unable to go.
Well, I didn't really get to enjoy the festival too much this year because I had some shows. But one thing I did get to experience was an after party. And that was pretty amazing. Seeing man, I don't even know where to start, but that was just wild.
Keem is like
cry.
dying. Poor Keem.
I got out there. For the listeners, Ash put up a thing like, "Hey, there's Anderson Paak is throwing this after party thing, and anybody like to go? Let me know." So of course I'm just like, I'm down because huge Anderson Paak fan. I'll do all this stuff because I don't know Brooklyn. Trying to find out where I'm going, trying to figure out how to get there. Get out there, wait in line for about 45 minutes. A woman comes out and goes, "Hey, we've been at capacity for 30 minutes. I don't know why nobody has told y'all, but you can go find somewhere else to go."
Dang.
So I hop my happy black ass back into my Lyft with two other dudes who came from Oakland, California, who were also waiting in line, and I went back to my apartment.
Sorry.
It's a good story, though.
But yeah.
Anderson, he's just an amazing musician. He does some things that I really did not know that you could do as a musician. Also, I feel he's underrated as a drummer.
He is my drumming hero. I love him.
I've seen some of the greats. I've seen them play and I've seen them sing as background singers. It's the first time I've ever seen a drummer really kill it, going in as he raps and sings simultaneously, interchangeably, without missing a beat, without messing up.
It's incredible. You've seen his Tiny Desk concert, right?
I haven't. Oh my gosh!
Shit! You need to get on that. It's amazing. That was my introduction to him, and I'm like, fuck yes, it's incredible.
Are you guys familiar with this Korean American rapper named Dumbfounded?
I am not.
He's really good. He's one of two Asian American rappers that I consider to be quote unquote woke, simply because they just speak a lot about not even just the racial inequality and injustices against Asians, but also Black people.
Yeah.
And so Dumbfounded has this really cool song and video called Safe, where the concept is that all of these whitewashed films in Hollywood, he basically inserts his face as the main character. And the song is just about how he can't keep, stepping on us Asian Americans, eventually we're gonna fight back. But anyway, he and Anderson Paak go back. They've created a lot of music back when Anderson was, and so I thought that was pretty cool. That Anderson's been that active.
Yeah. That is awesome. I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna go through this episode after the fact and just write down all of these things that you have mentioned because I need more music.
That's if you haven't guessed, music is, as our listeners know, music is a big part of this show.
Yes.
Lot bigger than people think. Because we actually put a lot of effort into going out and finding people. Speaking of which, Ash, if you know anyone who would like to, that you know personally, who has something to say, who would love to come on the show and talk about their music, about their beliefs, they just want to get mad about something. Hey, if you know anybody that's interested, hey, let us know or let them know about us.
Yeah, I know plenty. I can I'll send you guys some music, and then that way you have some variety to choose from. And yeah, like I know some other queer rappers that are pretty cool.
Yes. I like introducing people to like queer rappers like Sneaky, and they're like, "This is awesome," and I'm like, "I know, right?"
Like that, and that's how you got me hooked on Angel Hayes.
Yes, that is.
Her backstory is so
I know.
wild. Goodness. I've seen her live too. She's an amazing performer.
Okay, now I just hate you a little bit. I'm super envious.
Esme has this problem where people around her seem to meet and see people live that she wants to see.
Don't even start, Keem.
Like,
do not even start. No.
I saw Of Montreal and Janelle Monáe in concert a few years back, and I'm always rubbing it in.
Ugh.
Though it's a sad story for me because I was also supposed to go out with like Janelle Monáe and the band, and due to some horrible things happening that I will never forgive people for, I missed that dinner. And I am obsessed with Janelle Monáe, and that's just a thing. So yeah, I like to rub that in with Esme every once in a while.
Shut up! I don't want to talk to you anymore. There's problem is there's too many good shows in the world, and I have limited time and money. It's a problem.
My problem is limited money. I am broke as hell. Podcasting doesn't pay, kids. Don't quit your day jobs.
That's weird.
Let's see. Anyway, Ash, is there anything else you wanted to touch on, like while we have you on, before we move into our sex segment?
The sex segment.
Oh man, there's so much going on in the world. There's so.
Yes.
That's another one of the main reasons we opted to have you on this week. Okay, I mean, we wanted to have you on for a while, but there's so much going on right now that it's very damn hard to try to pick one thing to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So we opted to pick the one person to talk with.
I got thoughts on everything.
Well, give us one thing.
Let's see. I have a positive thing that's music related, and I have a negative thing that's music related.
Ooh.
Let's go with both, actually.
All right. I'll start
You're bad
with
at picking one, Keem.
Yep.
Keem's bad at picking one.
Positive thing. You want to pick?
I'm bad at picking. No. I don't pick one. That's one of the reasons I'm poly.
I'm one of the reasons that you're poly, sweetheart.
Yeah. That's more than one reason, because I can't pick one. But go ahead, Ash. Sorry.
It's okay. So my favorite band is Queens of the Stone Age. I'm like obsessed with Josh Homme. And they recently put out a new album, and it was produced by Mark Ronson, which is like a big deal, right? Like,
fuck yes. I need to look this up like right now.
And I was just shocked to hear that because if you've ever listened to their music, it has its own like sort of feel to it. And I love this new album. But I was reading this article where Josh was just talking about how he bullies the bullies at shows. He says that he wants to weed out all of the homophobic, misogynistic, like jerks in the audience. And he even said that one of the main reasons why he reached out to Mark Ronson is because he wanted to create a project that forced people away, because he wants to create a space where fans are more open-minded and accepting of newer things. And I just thought that was so cool.
It is awesome.
So that's my
It is
positive thing. My negative thing is that even though I love the song Pillow Talking by Lil Dicky, I actually have grown to like dislike him immensely. He has a song called Save That Money where he's rapping about how much he goes out of his way to be frugal, not because he has to, but because he wants to. I believe he's Jewish, so I think in a way that plays up to a stereotype, which if anyone else had said something like that, it would be considered anti-Semitic, so I'm already confused about that. But so he has this music video for it where like the beginning of it is him legitimately knocking on the doors of strangers who live in mansions, and he's asking them like, hey, can I use your house to shoot 15 minutes of a music video? I'm a rapper. And like eventually this old white lady says yes. And I'm like, wow, that's blatant white privilege. And he does the same thing at a car dealership. They let this dude use a freaking McLaren. And this guy lets him use his boat. And I'm like, wow, like if I had done that, they would have called the cops on me. But it gets worse because I'm really starting to think about like, this is hip hop. This is a culture that was born from disparity, from people who were just living in like just tragic times. And they decided to come together and celebrate the fact that they were here, the fact that they could still dance and move. Who needs disco when we could do it ourselves? So for him to present himself as the antithesis of that form of empowerment and to mock and look down on people who spend their money frivolously, which I understand is an issue. You know, you should save and invest, but like they're doing it for a reason. If society has been saying that you ain't shit and you're bottom of the barrel and you finally get something and you want to feel good about that, do it. But where he really pissed me off the most is he features this rapper, Rich Homie Quan, and he gets on there and he's rapping and his verse doesn't really fit what the song is about. And then Lil Dicky interrupts him and he's like, wait, what does that have to do with the song? And then he's like, well, I didn't pay you for a full verse anyway. And I'm just like, wow, you feature this black guy and like, you don't even have him rap about the topic, so we can't save money. So you're basically saying that we don't save money. Then he even has this part of the song where he's being a dick to the waiter. And it's like, why are you doing? Like, what are you doing, dude? And I've read articles where he like denies white privilege, and he's on his it's so hard to be a white rapper, and then that just makes me think about Eminem, because it's like you could write an entire like a whole college paper on why Eminem has been problematic. And, you know, his excuse is not justifiable. And I don't know if you guys know, but, you know, he's spoken out even when he was younger. And he said that basically, like, he knows that he has privilege and he's going to say what he wants to say because white America is a hypocrite and they're the ones that are continuing to buy his stuff. And that's not good enough to really excuse some of the hateful things that he said. But he's also acknowledged the white privilege. Yeah. He's called out white America. He's called out cultural appropriation. And I just always thought it was odd that, like, in all his controversy, no one had ever really mentioned those things. And now we have dudes like Lil Dicky who are the opposite. And, like, they don't want to accept that they're benefiting from black culture or anything. And Macklemore, too, he's another one. Yeah. Although he did a little song or whatever to backtrack, but the damage was already done. I also feel like he like completely took over the LGBTQ movement for a period in time.
Although, have you heard Angel Hayes' remake of Same Love?
I have not. I did not know that.
It will tear you apart. It's incredible. Because, you know, she's like actually telling her story. which
Yeah.
is actually a story of oppression of an LGBT person. Like,
And
instead of
and
this,
I did art. I was 3 and thought I was gay, which makes no sense to me. Who
Yeah.
says that? What?
Macklemore says that because people pay him a lot of money to say shit like that.
And he's not indie. He's independent in the sense that he wasn't signed to a label, but he definitely had a major distribution deal.
Yeah.
Same with Chance the Rapper, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I think the narrative that Chance is this champion for indie rappers is really cute, but when Apple, who you can look this up, they have more money than our U.S. Treasury. When they're the ones that are financing and promoting you, of course you don't need a record deal. Why would you need that money? Like when your dad used to work for former President Obama, like why would you need a record deal? Like, and that's what I have to say about it.
With that stuff. It's all about marketing movements. What's hip right now? What's hip right now, quote unquote, is fighting for the little guy. Yeah. So that's what's being marketed. I mean, with everyone's trying to. Every major person is trying to be that champion for the disenfranchised when they're not.
Well, because they finally realize that disenfranchised people have lots of money and are willing to throw money at things, whether or not they're actually representative, right? Like, OMG, somebody's finally talking about me and my experience, even though it is super not representative of my actual experience. So nobody's been paying attention to that for so long that they've found that market. They found that source of income that nobody's been pandering to, and now they've started to pander to it. That
actually has something to do with some of my complaints about Beyonce. But once again, I'll lay off her. I would say one thing about Lil Dicky. Dicky has an identity problem. Dicky doesn't know whether he wants to be a parody rapper or something serious. And you can't really do both. Because if you're going to parody and make your little jokes and do your little ha-ha funny stuff, then do it. But you can't do that stuff and be serious at the same time. Because when you do that stuff and be serious, you're just an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, like all the problems you talked about would Save That Money. It reminds me of that line, and pardon my language because I have to use a slur in the line, but it says something when he's cussing out the waiter at the end. He's like, "I'll shut this place down like only a kite know how." You can't do that. You can't. You can do that if you are going, hey, I am a parody Jewish rapper. I am putting these ridiculous, really ridiculous, over the top stereotypes of Jewish people. I'm putting them on blast, but to bring attention to them because it's parody. You can do that. But what he's doing is not that. You can be Weird Al. You can be Weird Al. You can be The Lonely Island. If you're going to do that, do that. Lil Dicky is trying to market on that type of thing, but still trying to market himself as, oh, I'm a serious white rapper who's had all these problems and because I'm white. You can't do that. Yeah. Dicky's going to have to decide what he's going to be. So that was my Dicky spiel. I'm spieling everywhere today.
Yes, you are. That's sort of the usual.
True. So anything else?
Oh no, that's all. That's all.
All right. All right. Looks like with that, we are going to move on into our sex segment, Esme's sex segment, after some music that Ash has so greatly provided us.
Yay!
Ooh.
And we're gonna get into whatever Esme's talking about, which once again I have no earthly idea.
It's a surprise.
But stay tuned.
I wrote this letter to my future self like, how are you doing? How is the road life? Where are you headed? Was there anything left when you turn right? At night I still sleep fighting boxing monsters in the parasol, reaching out in dark rooms and opens there at all. Was it all in my head? Have you awoke from the strife? Do you still have pains in your back? Flashback to being jabbed with a knife, heart colder than Jon Snow getting stabbed in the night. It's hard to forget and harder to live. It's easy to run and easy to numb. I stand feeling dumb, facing cowards with guns. The other day I was stressing, but life came through with some lessons. Now I'm feeling great, time to meditate and celebrate all these new blessings. But don't pray for me, pray for the ones who really wanna see my defeat. All I ever did was give good energy, so tell me why they mad at me. I'm wishing everybody love and peace, call me faster stampede. Sheesh, get the Febreze, these haters they stink, see what I mean? I'm living my dream, why they so mean?
They love to hate you and they hate to love you. They love to hate you and they hate to love you. They love to hate you and they hate to love you. They love to hate you and they hate to love you. They love to hate you and they hate to love you. They love to hate you and they hate to love you. They love to hate you and they hate to love you. They love to hate you and they hate to love you. They love to hate you and they hate to love you. They love to hate you and they hate to love you. They love to hate you and they hate to love you. They love to hate you and they hate to love you.
Why they so mean?
Welcome
here.
back, everybody, and thanks again to Ash Leon for our music this week. It is time to talk about sex, which is, as always, my favorite part of every episode. And today, are you guys ready for the big reveal?
Yeah, sure.
Today,
Oh wait,
we're talking.
You might want.
Huh?
You might want to rethink the phrase "You ready for the big reveal"?
No, I chose that specifically. You're fine. No. Today we're going to be talking about bondage, particularly rope, because that's how I roll. But bondage in general.
And listeners, if you would, let's get a peek behind the curtain before we go into bondage. Bondage, in particular rope, is one of Esme's favorite things in the whole wide fucking world.
Frankly, I'm surprised it's taken me this long to have it as a topic. Honestly.
My lord. Go
But
on.
yeah, so I was thinking about it, and this is not going to be that long of a segment on account of, like, there are so many ways that you can interact with bondage, right? There's so many different. Okay, whoever's moving around, stop it. Is that you, Keem? It's picking it up again.
Sorry, my ear was itching.
Yeah. Anyway, but so with bondage, there are so many different ways to engage in that, and so many different reasons to engage in that. And I can only personally speak from my very specific experience, but my experience with bondage is not going to be the same as anybody else's. So really, like, I could ramble on and on and on about my experience, but that's going to be not all that useful for a lot of people because everybody is unique, especially with this. So it's going to be kind of like a what is bondage and what are the kinds of things that you could use to like restrain somebody. And then, yeah, that's really the scope of what I can talk about. But I love bondage is the point. So.
I can vouch for that.
Yes, I continually try to tie you up, even though you're not into it. Whatever.
I am okay, and no, it's back to what you were saying. I am not into it in the same way as other people.
Mm-hmm.
I am into the I'm going to escape this portion of it.
Yes.
I'm like a black ass Houdini, is what I'm saying.
Yes, that is true.
Until I can't get out, which then it becomes something else. But
that's a whole other thing. That was a little scary that one time, but in a good way. Whew.
Go on.
Anyway. Okay, so for those of you playing along at home, bondage is really just like an umbrella term for any number of ways that you can restrain somebody, right? Which you could do, like I said, like we have mentioned, rope is my favorite way to do that. There's also any number of leather or faux leather or nylon or what have you, cuffs and series of restraints, and you can go to any sex shop and look at the like wall of bondage stuff. There's thousands of different things that you could use for that. Different devices. My only rant about what you should and should not use is don't use metal handcuffs because you'll fuck yourself up. It's so easy to fuck yourself up with metal handcuffs. Like, just don't. Like, I mean, I suppose unless you have that, if you're doing a very particular kind of role play, but even then be really careful, please, because with the metal, it's such a hard material. It doesn't conform to the shape of your wrist, and it's so hard and it has so many edges that pulling on that in any way can really mess with the nerves in your wrist and can really cause you problems if you hit the wrong spot, and it's really easy to hit the wrong spot. So be really, really careful with metal handcuffs, and also probably don't. That's my spiel about that. But yeah, so talking about like why people would do bondage, right? So there's tons of different reasons, right? I personally enjoy rope bondage. So there's some power play in it, and I like rope specifically because of like the sensuality of it, right? Rope has a particular smell. It has a very like appealing texture to me. It feels nice in my hands. For those of you who are not aware, I top rope. I very, very rarely bottom any kind of bondage. At best I get very antsy, and at worst I get a little freaked out. Except in very, very specific circumstances. But yeah, so rope is it's a very sensual kind of thing for me. And that's one of the things that I like about it. It's an immersive experience. But like there are very practical reasons to want to restrain somebody. Like I said, the one way that I really do tolerate being restrained in any kind of way is in the service of impact play, right? Like tie me up so that I can't move when you are hitting me with stuff. But yeah, and especially when you get into rope bondage, there's so much cool stuff that you can do with it. It's art. I find it very unsurprising that I'm into topping rope, given how much I like fiber crafting in general, like crochet and knitting and all of that stuff. It's like doing that except on a naked person, and that's really, really fun. Y'all are very quiet.
When arts and crafts people get into kink, this is what's happening.
Exactly.
I'm still stuck on the dragons.
In between segments for our listeners, we had a discussion about Bad Dragon, and now Ash is down a rabbit hole.
I think we broke Ash.
Which might be literal, because there may be a rabbit hole sex toy on that site.
No, they're all dragon ones.
There could be a dragon rabbit. There could be a dragon rabbit. There are dog rabbits. It could be a rabbit dragon. There are dog dragons. You seen Falcor?
Dragons. I don't think they have any rabbit ones though.
I saw one that had arms, and it was like flexing.
Yep. Yeah, we broke Ash. That's my favorite hobby, is breaking people with sex.
Whoa.
These shapes.
They're amazing, right? Also, have you looked at the size comparisons?
Yes.
I like how they line them all up next to like a Coke can, and you're just like, holy Jesus, people put that inside their bodies.
Listeners, side note, go check out baddragon.com.
It's amazing.
Target.
I feel like we're a little we're just improvising at this point.
Doesn't it always come down to this?
Basically, yes.
But while Ash continues down, I will say something about like bondage. So Esme could probably go more into rope, which I'm pretty sure she most likely will on a different show.
I mean, I could a little bit. I'm planning on giving a quick overview today, just to get people like an overview, because I have feelings about rope. But continue.
But I guess as we were kind of talking about a little bit, I am not like super into. I'm not super into being like tied up. I will be, and from time to time it may float my boat, but something about chains and whips, not chains and whips, but like chains and ropes and stuff gives me slavery flashbacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not particularly my thing, but I do like I do like the thrill of escaping, which also may be a slavery flashback. Maybe I was Kunta Kinte in a former life. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I will say, what Esme has introduced me to has been very interesting. It's also been very interesting to watch other people be tied up, even in a like non-sexual way.
Yeah.
Some of the I was a Boy Scout. I'm shitty at knots now, but I was a Boy Scout. But knots have always been pretty interesting, and looking at some of the ties and rigs and just the ways people can be tied up, and the positions they can be tied up in, that even in a non-sexual way can be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, and it's really fun because, like, okay, one of the reasons that people really, really get into rope in particular, and it's like is that it has a very, very attractive aesthetic, right? Especially like the shibari, right? The Japanese style. It's extremely attractive. It just looks pretty, right? The way it's so pretty. let me find more articulate ways of saying that it's pretty, right? I love it. It's a very particular aesthetic. And I could ramble on and on. I have a whole rant about how I'm really, really tired of seeing skinny white and Asian, like East Asian women tied up. And there's not a lot of representation of any other bodies in most like bondage photography. But that's a whole other rant. I'm on a mission. It's amazing to find and create other kinds of bondage photography. I need to learn how to do photography, or make friends with a photographer, whatever. But it's just a very beautiful thing. Rope especially is very, very beautiful. There's a lot of like leather restraints that are extremely like attractive. There's a lot of companies doing really interesting stuff with leather restraints to where they are coming up with all sorts of interesting configurations and different harnesses and straps and things that are designed to do all sorts of stuff. Aslan Leather makes a really cool one that's like it's a hip harness that is designed to hold a strap on actually, but also has D-rings in the center of the back, and they sell a set of cuffs that will like clip to the D-rings in the back. So not only do you have like a strap on, you also now are restrained and can't use your arms, and it's a whole thing. It's very cool looking. But yeah, there's so many different reasons that you might want to explore this, right? Aesthetically, it's very cool. Sensually, it's very cool. There's a whole power dynamic there to explore, right? Inherent in restraining a person. There's a ton of different ways that you can engage in that. So my thing is really, if you haven't played with it, you should, right? Because for a long time, I fell into this. I was intrigued by it, but for some reason thought that I wanted to bottom for bondage. And then as soon as I tried it, I was like, no, this is actually not for me, like as a bottom, but and then I tried it as a top and I was like, fuck yes, this is amazing. So
you don't get many options. You don't get many options to tie white people up.
Huh. I mean,
I'm sorry.
I have plenty of opportunities to tie white people up, but that's just me.
You just have options to tie people up.
That's true. But yeah, it's a whole thing. It's really cool. What do you guys want to know about bondage? That was really good.
Actually, I'm moderately knowledgeable. Not as much as you, of course.
Yeah.
I'm moderately knowledgeable on bondage because, like I said, as you know, I am into people being like tied up and like I don't like being tied, and I can't tie people worth the shit. But I mean, handcuffing someone, I'm all down for it. Tying someone with like that cloth, I'm all good with that. Like simple stuff.
Yeah.
That my shitty 15-year-ago Eagle Scout mind can do.
I'm all down for that. So on that side of things, like I'm as knowledgeable as I guess I want to be currently.
Yeah.
But said it's, even if you're like not into it sexually, it's interesting in a non-sexual capacity.
Yeah.
So give it a look-see. Google it.
Yeah. And in fact, I have several people in my life right now who we do rope bondage in an explicitly non-sexual capacity, right? It's mostly just like a very interesting kind of thing. I have one friend who helps me out by helping me bulletproof my ties, where he also is an eel. And so I will tie him up and then he will like wiggle out of them and then tell me where the weak point was so that I can make it better. It's very entertaining and a little frustrating, but mostly entertaining. But yeah, it's really fun. So if you're interested in exploring bondage a little bit, which I recommend that everybody does, because like I said, it's very intriguing in many, there's so many different things that could appeal to you about it. But in my experience, at least, it's really tough to tell without actually trying it how exactly that's going to play with you. Like maybe you'll try it and you actually don't like it. Or maybe you will try it and, like me, you like it in a completely different way than what you thought you were going to, and for completely different reasons. So that's it's a whole thing. But what I would say is if you're interested in trying it, I'd start out, I hate recommending this company to anybody because I don't like them, but Sport Sheets does make actually pretty decent, like, restraint systems for pretty reasonable prices. I don't like them necessarily as a company, but if you're looking for an intro level, like I don't want to invest a ton of money in finding out if I like this, they sell like Velcro cuffs. They have all sorts of different kinds of things that are really reasonably priced that will help, that will be a good starting point to explore some things. Frankly, if you're interested in exploring rope, I started out literally just going down to the local hardware store and I got myself some nylon rope and cut it up because it was hella cheap. And it doesn't have a lot of the things that I personally really like about rope. It doesn't have the same texture. It doesn't have the same smell. But it's a good way to see if that's something that you're interested in exploring more. And it's really, really easy to find, right? Like good natural fiber ropes are not, you can find them for not very expensive if you're willing to put a little bit of work into it. But with the nylon, it took very, very little work. It's literally just cut it up into pieces and tie knots in the end. And it's a good way to start to explore. And it was like $12 for 100 feet or something ridiculous. Or for like, it was $12 for 50 feet. So it's like, you can drop $12 on this and get enough rope to tie somebody up pretty well. And see if this is something that you're interested in exploring more. But yeah, with natural fiber ropes, there's a gajillion different sources, but I'm willing to bet, unless you're in someplace like, I don't know, probably Brooklyn, I think you can get rope in Brooklyn. I want to say Shag has some. I think they have a deal with Twisted Monk or somebody. But in any case, I know way more about the sex stores in Brooklyn than anybody should, I think.
Sounds like somebody needs to come visit.
Yeah, no, you literally probably drove by Shag on your way to the party last weekend. It's right there where that party was. It's very close. Anyway. But yeah, unless you live in a major metropolitan area, a major pretty liberal metropolitan area, there's probably not a local place for you to get natural fiber ropes, but they're widely available online at a number of different price points, some of which require more preparation work on your end than others. But they're really great. For good price jute rope, just go to Etsy. That's what I did. You can get very good rope for pretty low prices. if you dig around Etsy a little bit. I'll have links. I always have links. But then as like there are a gajillion different companies making all kinds of different items meant for restraint. Like I mentioned Aslan Leather, which they're incredible. They're Canadian, and they make incredible leather products for all manner of different things. But yeah, that's my spiel about bondage, is that everybody should try it. Everybody should try topping and bottoming bondage. Because you never know. It's hard to predict, I think, what you are going to like until you actually try it with this. So, although that's my policy with everything, is that everybody should try everything because you don't know if you're going to like it.
Try it all.
Try it all. Yes, try everything once, and then for good measure, try it again, just to make sure.
And now back to our let's check on Ash. Back on Bad Dragon. You still with us?
I'm still here. I just know that the one with the arms, it has elbows, and that's
the one with the arm. It has elbows.
Yes.
That actually reminds me, this is a tad off subject. This was in another podcast I was listening to the other day, and this guy asked the other guy, you get $1 million, but your dick has shoulders.
What?
Yeah.
Where?
Your dick has shoulders.
Where?
This is what the discussion ended up boiling down to, like, where were the shoulders coming out? I think like on the sides it just had shoulders, but like no like full arms, just like shoulders that could shrug.
Ooh.
I don't think.
I'm actually kind of into that. Is that weird?
Yeah, that's weird. That's very weird.
I like weird stuff. Sorry.
This is staying in on the final edit. Like the dick shoulders are staying in on the final edit.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I'm intrigued. No, but like where? Like where on the dick would they be?
Well, that's what they were trying to decide. Like where on the dick? I figured it would be like right. I figured it would be like right under the head, like where the change happens.
Yeah. I don't know. This is
like,
weird.
Like right there on the dick neck, like where normal shoulders would be.
Phrases that nobody should use.
But you know what I'm saying? Like dicks have a neck. Like there's a like little place right there, like where the head and shaft like come together, and that's like a neck. Like that's where I figured the shoulders would be, like right there in the dick neck.
Oh goddamn. Weird. Okay.
All right. Wow.
Now I'm freaked out, but also kind of turned on. That's weird.
While Esme's turned on by dick shoulders and Ash is lost down the bad dragon hole. I had to rephrase that.
No, they make those.
Yeah, they do. And apparently there's dinosaurs too.
Yes.
I'm just finding out so much.
Well,
apparently I know people who are deeply into this, come to find out.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, you're just not finding out about this? I'm like, all right.
Yeah. No, this is a thing that exists in the world.
I mean, I'm cool with it. I don't know that I would ever want to use a Fleshlight, made
I looked at that myself and I was just like, I don't know what to feel. I don't know.
I don't know, but I do know that a thing from Bad Dragon is on my list of things to buy. There's a few things ahead of it on the list, but it's definitely on the list.
I've seen some in the wild at a particular person's home that have frightened me.
I can imagine.
But also let me know that I didn't have to worry much about dick size. Because like I'm not a small man. I'm a small man, but I'm not like, in that particular reason, I'm not small. And in the past, there has been issues of pain. After seeing the Bad Dragons in the Wild.
And now you just have a bunch of partners who really, really like large toys. It's a thing.
Yeah. So I guess that's a worry I don't have anymore, at least on those occasions.
How's that feel?
Humbling. Anyway, I think that's going to end the formal portion of the show.
Yeah.
Very, very special thanks to Ash for coming on today.
No, I appreciated being here. You guys are awesome. Like, this was an amazing experience, very informative, especially towards the end.
People always say that about the sex segment.
That's what we aim to do. We aim to give people unique experiences and inform them.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! But like I said, thank you for coming on. Hopefully, if you like, come on again just our one of our random other topic segments if you want. We talk about random shit. So if you're ever free and want to be back on, hey, we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
And said we will have links to where to find Ash's music.
Yeah.
We'll have links as to Esme's Bondage stuff, and we'll have links to our news. So you all could be just as angry as I am, and will always be.
I'm not angry this week. I mean, I am angry, but not about my news.
God, I hate people. Oh my God. Sorry. But yeah, all the links will be there in the description as always. And we say it during every show. If there's somebody out there who has something to say, somebody out there who want to come on the show, talk to us, let us know. Come on the show. We are open to having people, having discussions, yelling, talking about sex, talking about fucking dragon sex toys. It's all here, baby. And we got it. This has been Keem and Esme and Ash, and we are out.
But there are these things that matter, and they really fucking matter. There's like 4 things that matter, and they really fucking matter. I mean, objectively, I mean, you should care, especially you, if you thought about it for 5 fucking minutes.